you know?
So the jetpack idea, I mean, it's interesting. There is, I mean, I was actually talking to a friend today about this and about how the Mothman actually paced the car that was going like 60 miles per hour. Do you think that the jetpacks could have gone that speed?
If I had to guess, and it is an educated guess, I would say yes, absolutely. I mean, they're rockets. I don't think they'd have any trouble pacing a car.
And they would have been able to control this stuff pretty effectively, and it not just be random.
That's where I'm speculating.
Yeah.
But it's educated speculation that you would have to combine the jetpack for liftoff and, you know, propulsion with a glider type wings for control. And that would look just exactly like what the Mothman is described as. Wings that don't flap. And an ability to go straight up, an ability to fly along, and these big, not a bird wing, not an insect wing, but a sort of an artificial wing. And I don't know that technology exists. I don't know. I know things like that were definitely worked on. You know, many things are tested and then found not to work out. And do I think that's possible? Yeah, I absolutely think that's possible. And what were they doing there? Were they just testing, you know, I think it was like ultraviolet paint and high altitude, low opening parachutes? They could have been testing a lot of things. I mean, the secrecy, especially this is during the Vietnam War, and this is, you know, pre-Watergate. This is at a level where a lot of times the public just wasn't told anything. You know, this is before anybody knew about so much government malfeasance. That's something that was relatively harmless, because I don't honestly believe there was a direct connection. I don't believe there's any connection. Now, other people can show why there was. I'm not, you know, being too contentious. There could have been. But I don't really believe there was a connection between the Silver Bridge collapse and the appearance of the Mothman.
No, I don't think so either. And I think that comes primarily from the movie.
Yes.
Kill never really made that connection. I think when the movie is written, which, you know, I mean, I've had Richard Haddam on the show a few times, and I mean, I think that was just a device that was used for the film.
And even in Keel's book, and that's not to cast aspersions, because, man, that's one of the best books of my life, but it wraps up the story.
Right, it does.
It can't just go on forever.
Yeah, essentially Kill left after that.
Yeah.
I think he does make some kind of tangential connection that, like, this was a really weird year, and it culminates in this bridge collapsing. But he doesn't really say, oh, this is because of the Mothman, or, you know, I think that's something that just got into the popular culture. I mean, he writes about, as you know, he writes about a lot of other weird stuff that's going on in Long Island. I mean, he writes about almost as much about Long Island in the book as he does about West Virginia.
His Mountain Misery section is, to me, more interesting than some other stuff. But yeah. And exactly. So the fact, or the supposition, that the military might have been doing some advanced testing there really rings true to me. And even the other phenomena that swirl around there, the people getting strange phone calls, they're all numbers.
Yeah.
You guys have undoubtedly heard of the number stations, right?
Oh
yeah. I've caught them live while listening to shortwave radio.
Do they still broadcast today?
There's still Cuban ones. The Cuban lady is still on there.
We got weird numbers station like interrupting our show now. I don't really know what's going on with that.
Wow. Okay. Yes. And that was kind of like, you know, the heyday of number stations.
Yeah.
And that, to me, you know, could be the experience that causes somebody to think, hey, I've been, hearing these weird numbers. This weird thing happens to me, without, imputing any of the witnesses. There's once you talk about something and you see it through a certain lens, everything kind of tends to build on what you already think. And, the Mothman, like, kind of legend kind of grows from things that might have other explanations. And that's,
Right.
I just try to keep an open mind with it. It's an industry in that little town, and I would never knock that. I love the hodag that lives in northern Wisconsin. But I don't think the hodag was necessarily a real creature that was caught by the settlers. But do you guys ever hear of the hodag?
I've
heard of the hodag. I think I probably have heard either. No, I've heard you talk about it. But I've maybe Josh Cutchin has mentioned it once or twice. Because I know Josh used to go to school up in Wisconsin.
It's in Rhinelander, far northern Wisconsin.
A lot of good Germans up there.
Oh yes.
Their whole dog.
I live nearby a town called New Berlin, so there's that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a suburb of Milwaukee. Yes. But the settlers found a dinosaur about 100 years ago, and it produced quite the stir, and they still have the local sports team is named the Hodags, and they have like a little museum up there, and they do Hodag stuff, but everybody kind of admitted that, okay, the Hodag was a hoax. It was done to generate interest in Rhinelander. So I'm not against that stuff. That's cool, but and I'm not putting that in the same level as a Mothman, because they're two totally different things. But I just think we should be open to all possibilities, and their misinterpretation and other things going on. And I just, like Keel said, belief is the enemy. I don't want to be a diehard for anything. That's not the Fortean spirit.
Right.
So yeah, I just saw some stuff there that it could very easily be a collection of different things that coalesced into the idea of it's this one thing. But even in the book, I like the way Keel talked about other stuff even better than the creature itself,
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. That's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting idea, for sure. And the time we got left here, let's talk a little bit about one of the true crime cases that you talk about, and that's the Lane Bryant massacre.
Oh, yes. And that's one that I have a definite opinion on. I have gone so far as to contact the police department in charge of investigating that, which still keeps it's an open case. It is one of the extremely rare unsolved mass shootings. Mass shootings tend to end with the shooter killed or captured or dead by his own hand on the scene. Also, it's one that happened in a woman's clothing store. For those not familiar, Lane Bryant is a chain of stores, still very much around, that cater to plus size women. And this one correct me if I'm wrong, it's a suburb of Chicago, I believe called Burlington. But it's in Chicagoland. And a person came in and shot several people, all of whom died except a employee who was shot in the neck, who lay there and pretended to be dead until the shooter left. When I heard about this, I thought they're going to have this guy, which they were describing as a guy, a man. They're going to have this guy within days. You cannot get away with something that big. But it has never been solved, and there's never even been an arrest. There's never even been a named person of interest. There is nothing. Which, I read up on it and did what research I could do. And I feel that they have been looking in the wrong direction literally from day one. I believe that a woman did the Lane Bryant massacre. I just find that way more believable than any scenario where this unknown man comes in. It doesn't seem to be a robbery, and it doesn't seem to be personally motivated in the sense that he was somebody's significant other or something like that. They searched the backgrounds of everybody who was shot and found nothing. And the picture that the composite drawing that was put together, and that was recently, I say like last year, re-released, doesn't to me look like a man. It looks like a woman. And I don't want to insult anybody, but not a woman I would find attractive. But guess what? She's still a woman. Okay. And if you've never been looking for a woman, you've only been looking for guys, then you're not going to find the killer. And I absolutely believe that's one I do. I'd be stunned if this is ever solved and it's a guy. I just don't buy that.
You think they're going down the wrong path on this for a long time?
Yes, the entire time. They've only looked for a man. And they base that in part on, there's an audio recording of the killer's voice. But what I heard there was a woman. Okay, a very angry woman, but a woman. There's also DNA from a coffee cup that has been made into the holy grail of this case. That's male DNA. But to me, the fact that some man had a cup of coffee at some point doesn't really prove anything. I believe it was a woman. I believe that she was deeply upset with Lane Bryant. Somebody that worked there, maybe the place in general, maybe somebody insulted her. There could be a number of motives, but she shot that place up and has so far gotten away with it because they've never looked at her. And that would be my supposition.
Do you think that they just decided that this was a man because this is a typical male type of crime?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
This kind of idea that women would never actually ever shoot any place up.
Oh, yes.
Which, is something that I would think would be exceedingly rare, because every time you hear about this type of things, it is men that perpetrate these. But it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Exactly. It's overwhelmingly a male crime, but that doesn't mean there isn't that 1% that isn't,
Right.
I don't know if this rings any bells, but have you ever heard of the song I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know exactly where you're going here, but I'll let you.
Yes. Back in the days before there were school shootings in the way we think of them.
Yeah.
I grew up in a world where that really didn't exist. A few years after I graduated high school, it was a huge deal. But I remember growing up and just that wasn't a thing.
Same here.
Yeah. Back in the 70s, there was a school shooting, and it was by a girl. And it eventually was, this band made a song about it called I Don't Like Mondays.
Yep.
After her explanation of the police asked, why did you do this? And I don't like Mondays.
That's what she said. This was in San Diego, I think in 1978 or 1979. She was 14 or 15 years old.
Yeah.
And she grabbed her father's gun or rifle and she lived across the street from the school. And she shot into the crowd at the school and killed some children there.
Oh, yeah. It was a terrible crime.
Yeah.
It was just such a crazy one-off that,